and hanging out outside of school was still a fairly easy thing to do. And social media didn't take away from that. It actually enhanced and strengthened our bonds. Now, I started college around the mid-2010s, and I can say that by around 2017, I was already noticing people becoming significantly less social. And I can attribute this change in social norms to a shift in how social media would operate. It went from being a way for us to keep connected with our friends to being a way for these companies to utilize your attention and your usership by feeding you content that they think will keep you on the app for longer. So instead of helping us maintain our real-world connections and reinforcing our pre-existing friendships, these apps were now dividing us into our own little isolated echo chambers based on our already pre-existing worldviews. And as this process went on, we had less and less in common with the people around us in real life. And because this new evolution of social media was still so fresh and new and exciting, all the young people were just completely enraptured by it and lost interest in the old way of socializing. Third spaces, they still existed in the late 2010s. We still had the opportunity and the option to go there and meet people and develop real-life relationships, but we chose not to. We didn't know what we had until it was gone. In 2020, the global crisis hit. We all know what happened. Here in California, everything was shut down for 2 years. Half the businesses in town shut down permanently. Instead of having the option to go meet your date at a coffee shop or a cafe, or go there on your own to try and meet somebody, they wanted you in and out fast. You had to wear a mask, inhibiting your ability to express yourself, you know? Me, as a short guy, my face is all I have. A woman looks at me, sees how I'm 5'3.5", and immediately rejects me, especially when she can't even see what I look like. And of course, we had the rise of these delivery apps, banking apps. All of a sudden, you could do everything you needed to do without even leaving the house. And women, especially with these dating apps, they get, 100, 200 matches in one day. All they got to do to meet a man is pull out their phone, go on Bumble or Tinder, and in 5 minutes, they'll have a special order for the nearest 6'6" Chad to head right over to their house for a night of fun. What chance do guys like us have? When I go out today, I don't see women my age. All I see when I go out is 90% of women are over the age of 60, and the ones that aren't have a kid with them or a guy. And if you look at them for 1 second too long, that guy is... So what's the point in going out? And I remember, even in 2019, when I would go out to bars and try to meet girls, they would all huddle around in their isolated little groups with their backs to everyone else. They were unapproachable. They would look at you like you're some kind of creep, unless you're tall, of course. And if they weren't surrounded by friends blocking you off, they always had a guy with them. But it wasn't just the stay-at-home orders and the masking and social distancing that did away with the existence of these third spaces, because eventually the world did open back up again. For us here in California, it wasn't until 2022. But thanks to an extraordinarily mismanaged economy, the closure of businesses all around, the rising cost of living, the rising rates of homelessness, all these natural disasters, you had all of these homeless people flocking these third spaces to try and just find a place to exist, to hang out. You had mentally ill people with very poor hygiene scaring away customers, and it became impractical for these businesses to allow the kind of gathering and loitering and socialization that they actually encouraged in the 2010s. All of a sudden, just like during the lockdowns, they wanted you in and out in 15 to 20 minutes. It's either you buy something or get out. Most people these days just use drive-thrus, so even if you go over there, 90% of the time, the place is going to be empty. But all that isn't even the biggest reason for the collapse of real-world connection and third spaces. I would argue that the biggest reason is inflation and greedflation. Young people are worked to the bone. We're burned out, we're broke, we can't afford the higher prices, and overall, we're just too exhausted to bother socializing. We don't have time. Now, I don't know about you guys, but during this post-lockdown era, I have developed a craving for social interaction, a craving to be seen. I want to go out in public. Even though I don't have the time for it, I do it whenever I can. I go to the bank physically. I hang out and I talk to the teller. I remember their name. I do the same thing at the grocery store. When I go to a restaurant, I want to be talked to by a waitress. I want to go up to the counter. I don't want to use touchscreen kiosks that probably have E. coli all over them and then just be handed a bag of food. As a result of this disastrous economy, costs going up, they're passing it on to consumer, and they're finding every way they can to fire people. And as a result, these little moments of connection that we once had are slowly being taken away. Also, some multinational corporation can save a few bucks. And as I touched on before, social media and the way it's evolved, it has pushed people and herded them off into all these isolated algorithmic echo chambers. We don't have those all-encompassing cultural movements that defined past decades, and it makes it much harder to bond with people in real life. And by far, the most negative outcome of this cultural fragmentation is the political division that's resulted from it. For those of you who are young, you might not know this, but in past decades, the majority of people agreed on the majority of things. And political division was based on a few key issues that people disagreed on. But for the most part, people could agree to disagree. We didn't live in multiple different realities. And it becomes impossible to get along with each other when you see the other person as living in a false reality. And as a result of this, people no longer feel safe opening up to each other. And that's another thing that accelerated over the last 5 years. This extreme level of political division began in the late 2010s. And I'll explain a little bit more on that later, but it was the crisis of 2020 and the election of 2020 that kicked that into high gear. Our perceptions of reality completely split and became further and further apart as time went on. I used to say whatever I wanted to on social media, no matter how offensive it was, within reason, without fear of anything bad happening to me, because that's the way life always was before the 2020 election. And I thought it would always be that way. But I apparently just happened to have developed an opinion that was considered dangerous. So one day, I decided to share that opinion on social media back in 2021. And I shared my distrust for the billionaires who were in charge of coming up with the thing that was supposed to help save humanity from this new crisis. And all of a sudden, I'm banned from LinkedIn.
All thanks to the witch hunt for conspiracy theorists and those who spread 2021's word of the year, misinformation.
Then a year later, I decide to share my opinion on the Ukraine war on Reddit, and what happens? I'm permanently banned from Reddit. Tried making several new accounts, auto ban every time. Same thing happened with Twitter. And I started hearing these stories of people across the country sharing their opinions on these things and having people call up their employer and get them fired or turn them in to the FBI as a potential domestic terrorist. And then I log into Bumble and I see nothing but women saying, if you voted this way, swipe left. If you didn't get the job, swipe left. If you don't support BLM, swipe left. It's like if you didn't kowtow to every last one of their virtue signaling fads, that's it. You're shunned. You're excommunicated. And that's the best case scenario. They'll go out of your way to ruin your life, ruin your reputation, tell everyone that you're a racist, that you're a bigot, that you're a fascist, that you want people to die. And if you don't genuinely feel the same way about all that stuff, you're gonna have to live a lie and put a mask on your face. You know how exhausting that is, how emotionally draining? And at some point, you're gonna slip up. You know, let's say the newest, most fashionable crisis happens and you don't post in support. Their view is silence is violence, you're a fascist, you're a horrible person, and they cut you off and tell everyone how bad you are. So as a result, we can't trust anyone anymore. So you may meet somebody that you have a lot in common with out there who can become a great friend, but you'll never know because nobody wants to show their true selves anymore. But at a certain point, all this paranoia and fear becomes exhausting and you kind of just withdraw and stop caring. And what's really ironic is a lot of these women will make exceptions if you look a certain way. Like if you are unattractive, sub-5 male, or a short guy, you have to follow every last one of their political tenets. But if a guy is 6'6", he can get away with being a homophobic, racist, redneck Republican, and they'll just make excuses for it and look past it because he's tall. That's why. So as a result of this loss in trust that we have for each other, people see each other less as human beings and more as disposable commodities. And as a result, there's an epidemic of ghosting and blocking at the first hint of any sign of discomfort or conflict in a relationship. And blocked means blocked forever. Used to be that you could make a new account and start over from scratch and have a new chance, you know? But back in the 2010s, you could still share whatever opinion you wanted for the most part without fear of being banned for being reported for wrongthink. And then silently, everything changed. And now every time you turn around, you got somebody reporting you for saying something they disagreed with, and the social media platform sides with them. And as a result, people feel unsafe opening up to each other. Now, it used to be that people could go to their elders for wisdom, for advice, but things have changed so quickly in the last 10 years that it feels like elders are almost like children now. They're completely lost in the world. They're being taken advantage of on Facebook. You know, my grandma, I have to watch over her all the time. So we as young people have lost one of the most valuable things, and that is the wisdom of elders. They're so out of touch. They don't even realize how difficult life has become for us. And as a result, when we fail to thrive at life, we're the ones who get blamed for it. And that drives us even further apart. Now, I touched on this earlier, but these days it feels like people are disposable to each other. And they see you as a means to an end, a resource to extract. But these days, it seems like if you don't already have an established friend group by your 20s and 30s, there is no hope for you. Now, I don't know how many of you have experienced this. I'd like to hear about it in the comments. If you've experienced trying to make new friends or trying to get a girlfriend, and you find that you're the one putting all the effort in, there's no reciprocity, no depth in the conversation or the relationship. You are the lowest level of their priority list. And if anyone else comes along, especially if we're talking about dating, they just feel totally comfortable canceling plans an hour before you're supposed to meet. Why fucking bother? And I've got a little story to share with you that is a perfect demonstration of this kind of thing. So part of what I do for my small business is I supply tinctures to this local cafe, among other shops and whatnot. And I developed this crush on this girl that worked there. You know, I'm a short guy. I like tall women. She was about 5'10". She wasn't perfect to me, but I liked her and she was sweet and she would hug me and stroke my back. And I thought maybe she liked me back, you know? And then one day in 2023, she was put in charge of this fashion show event, which was a pretty big deal. And she said that she really needed help and that she wanted to invite me to come and volunteer to work with her. And I was a little bit like not really wanting to do it because the last 5 years, I have socially isolated myself even more than most people so that I can grind and hustle and work on building my business and all the things I've been trying to do. So I really would have rather stayed home. But she presented it to me like, oh, we'll be able to hang out and chill and it'll be fun and we can talk. And I was like, you know what? That doesn't sound too bad, you know? And she also said I would get free tickets to the event, which, to be honest with you, I didn't really give a shit about. I just wanted to hang out with her. And I'll tell this story in greater detail in a future video, but basically, I went over there and sacrificed my entire night. Meanwhile, I only saw this girl like 3 or 4 times throughout the whole 4-hour event. So instead of spending the time hanging out with her and socializing while working like she said it would be, here I am working my ass off by myself, talking to random men that I barely know, hauling stuff back and forth. Meanwhile, I'm seeing all these beautiful models walk around, and they were really something. And of course, the majority of these female models all had their boyfriends with them as male models. So all I was the low-class help. Meanwhile, I get to see other men getting all the attention from everyone. Hundreds of people started showing up, every single one of them a couple. And here I am, the one single man, all alone. And I started getting real depressed. So the show had an intermission, and during the intermission, I walked downstairs, and the girl who invited me saw me. And, you know, she's wearing this beautiful 1920s style gown, which I had tried to compliment her on earlier, and she had actually ignored me. And she says, "Hey, Chadlet and Maxing, how are you enjoying the event?" And I was honest with her. I tell her, you know, to be honest with you, I'm pretty disappointed. I'm starting to get pretty depressed, seeing all these couples everywhere. And as I was about to tell her that I was gonna leave, before I even finished my sentence, somebody else walks by and she turns and says, "Hey, blah, 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 blah." And then they get into a conversation. She gives them a hug, and I'm just standing there like, yeah, this is why I'm leaving. And she had the gall to try and invite me to do the same thing again next year. You know, it feels like after the lockdowns ended and things opened back up, there was a sort of renaissance of everyone wanting to go out and experience living their social life again. And then, as the economy continued to crumble, prices continued to go out of control, people stopped wanting to go out to these events. And this very same economic decline that's led to the collapse of these third spaces is also the very same reason why people's dreams are being crushed left and right. People's hopes for the future, dying. It used to be that you could have a work-life balance, but in the last few years, going the extra mile has become the bare minimum. More people than ever are having to work multiple jobs or pick up side hustles. And as a result, as of 2026, more people than ever are burned out and emotionally unstable. And I'll be the first to admit that describes me. And I've talked about it in multiple videos. First, in my video about the anxiety of being a 29-year-old failure, and next in my video about burnout. So check those out, I'll put a link in the description. But you see, in 2020, when people were sent to work from home and we were spending more time alone than ever, we were all gathering on the internet and seeing the opportunities that we had to escape the matrix, escape the 9-to-5. And there was an explosion of entrepreneurship, and I was a part of that. More young people than ever were starting small businesses. And there was this sense of hope that we might be able to escape the monotony of menial life. But unfortunately, it was all built on a lie, because people were spending money left and right due to stimulus handouts and the fact that they hadn't maxed out on their credit cards yet. Fast forward a couple years, and cost of living has gone up so much that those side hustles were no longer a way to get ahead. It was now a basic necessity for survival. You had to work twice as long just to have the same purchasing power that we had in 2019. By 2021, 2022, there was an epidemic of quiet quitting, and I was a part of this. everyone started realizing that the only thing that happens when you go above and beyond to try and prove yourself and get promotions and get a raise or whatever, all that does is establish that high level of intense effort as the baseline expectation from upper management. And unfortunately, there is a disconnect between what we were taught and the reality, because we would come to find out the hard way. That system of our effort being proportional to our reward is a thing of the past. And once we realize that, we just want to kick back and give up. If you stand out, all it does is put a target on your back. People see you and how ambitious you are and how hard you're trying to rise through the ranks, and they see you as a threat. So when I was working from home, I started putting the bare minimum into my regular job and maximum effort into my side hustle. And by the time I was let go, I had all of this excitement and optimism about where life would take me. And a lot of other people did too. But here we are, a few years down the road, and the percentage of people that have succeeded is minuscule. These online opportunities that seemed so abundant a few years ago are drying up, and people are tired. They're exhausted. They're burned out. Because I know firsthand, and I've seen it in others too, the result of this burnout manifests in fatigue, short tempers, and emotional outbursts. Your brain no longer works the way it did before. And now even the most basic chore or task is like sucking it all out of you. People are starting to give up. We're tired, we're exhausted, and that's why we're seeing the rise of Eldar, lay down and rot. Because to be honest with you, that's what I'd like to do. And this mass burnout epidemic in young people has bred emotional instability and withdrawal, further withdrawal. We are staying home more than ever, not just because it's too expensive, not just because we don't have time, not just out of social anxiety, but out of sheer exhaustion and bad experiences with people. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Snapping left and right, road rage like crazy. When you're burned out, you don't have the patience for the bullshit anymore. Now, earlier we touched on the collapse of third spaces. I don't know about you, but I find it awfully suspicious how much these tech companies and social media companies have benefited from all of the events that have occurred since 2020. Social media has replaced these physical locations, these locations that provided opportunities for small businesses to succeed and thrive in the community. It's now all been consolidated in a series of just a few massive corporations that now control your access to these third places. And they hold all the cards. The power imbalance is unimaginable. You're completely at their mercy, and they know this. And every year they make the rules more and more strict. And as a result, we all have to live in continuous paranoia and fear that we're gonna make one wrong move and be completely isolated from the outside world. And these corporations are responsible for dividing people into 1,000 different alternate realities and views of how the world is. There is no one objective truth anymore. You know, it's funny how much people will espouse the importance of tolerance in today's day and age. But I have never seen people be less tolerant in my entire life, less tolerant of what actually matters, the type of diversity that actually matters, and that is the diversity of ideas. You get in one disagreement and they either block you or never talk to you again. And I've experienced this myself with people that I thought were real, that I thought were genuine and not like the rest. And I already said things since 2020 kicked into high gear, but things kicked into maximum high gear in the last year with the mass adoption of artificial intelligence. The first and most damaging to me personally comes in the form of social media companies replacing their human moderation systems with AI moderation systems. And all of a sudden, the same thing that you were able to say or talk about or post about 1 month before in 2024 got you banned in January of 2025. And it happened to me myself on Instagram. I had pictures up from years ago of tinctures that I had been selling that are perfectly legal, and it got taken down for illegal activities. So the paranoia, the fear, the walking on eggshells just got kicked into high gear because all of a sudden there's a massive vulnerability to where if you piss someone off, if someone disagrees with you, if they feel that if you are sharing an opinion that is harmful, that you don't deserve the privilege of free speech. And they will take it into their hands and take it away from you by weaponizing this faulty report system, abusing it, knowing that there's no human that will ever look at it. So now you can trust your fellow human being even less. And this faulty system that accuses people of things they didn't do left, right, and center, these increasingly strict terms of service are a massive reason why the opportunities that we had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago are scarcer than ever. All of a sudden, what was okay 2, 3, 4 years ago is considered hate speech now. Of course, it's far more extreme if you look at how edgy people were back in 2016, and I just made a video about that. I'll put that in the description as well. But because people used to have so much more freedom to post what they wanted to, you could share your worldview without worrying about getting shut down or silenced or suppressed. That's another thing that the AI revolution has propagated across the internet. You could literally follow all the rules and do everything right, but if the people who run that social media company have set the AI to suppress content that discusses that particular topic, you're fucked. And to further divide people and push us all into literal, false, separate realities, you see these videos of protesters or federal agents doing or saying things that literally never happened, generated by Sora AI that look almost real. And they are convincing people to be further radicalized and pushed toward their extreme fringed view of the world. Fake videos are already being used to smear and manipulate the population. If there has ever been anything that was a threat to democracy, it's that. And it further erodes the trust we have for each other and our ability to decipher what is and isn't truth. There is no truth anymore. Everyone has their own truth. And all these different niches and groups of people that you try to have some social connection with somebody, some camaraderie, whether they be activist circles, hobby groups, or even friend groups. Because they all have their own version of the truth and reality, they all have a core belief system that you have to conform to. There is no room for nuance. And if you deviate even slightly, you're cast out. Before, I would say 2017, you used to be able to agree to disagree with people. Now, it's exile, even among family members. I once had one of my only loved ones call me a piece of shit and threaten to disown me just because I voted the wrong way. And if you think these ideological divisions make joining communities and groups and forming friendships difficult, it is nothing compared to how difficult it has made dating. Unless you're either 6'6" or you hold all the right opinions or both, finding a woman who's tolerant enough to accept the fact that you differ in ideological viewpoints is going to be like finding a poppy seed in a toilet bowl. And I would argue that women have changed far more in the last 8 years than men have changed. Men and women overall have never been more different from each other. Women have never been further left, and men have never been further right. But overall, as a result of these dating apps, women have never had more negotiating power over men. Their expectations of men have never been higher. These dating apps have conditioned these young women by consistently exposing them to the best of men. All the options that they would not have known about 15 years ago. And unless you're in that top 1% category of men, you aren't even on their radar. And ever since the 2016 election, this problem has gotten worse. And I remember in the late 2010s noticing on these dating apps that basically 95% of these girls all said liberal on their political thing, and about 5 to 10% of them would say to swipe left if you disagreed with their ideology. Now, personally, I would never reject a woman just because we didn't agree on politics, but that just goes to show how much power they believe they have. But in the last 5 years, that problem has skyrocketed. And even if you are attractive enough to get their attention, you as a man are expected to pay for literally everything. And this same out-of-date cultural expectation still applies if the woman makes more than you. And I talked about this in my video about Nancy Mulkey, who basically said, if you're a short guy, you should have to pay for everything on a date. Even though she grew up in a rich family, grew up in a mansion, drives a Tesla, makes bank, barely having to do any work, and she's younger than me. You, as the broke wage slave man, have to pay for her meal. And as a result, bars, nightclubs, singles events are basically useless for the average man. Unless you're one of the 3 6.5-foot tall rich chads at the nightclub, you're not going to be anything other than a free drink dispenser and meal ticket. And as a result of this increasingly competitive environment, it's driven male friends further apart as well. Because if we ever do go out together, or you ever are in a situation where it's a mixed gender kind of deal, the entire atmosphere changes. Because now, all of a sudden, you're no longer there to connect, you're there to compete. But not only do the women at bars and nightclubs ignore anyone under 6 foot, not only are the drinks and food overpriced and no longer affordable, but you as a single male, and I've experienced this myself, you will be discriminated against. Bouncers will hassle you. You'll be seen as a potential school shooter. You'll get cut off at 3 drinks. And unless you're Chad, approaching or even looking at so much as one woman who's not interested in you could be enough to get you accused of harassment and kicked out of the establishment or even banned. Nightclubs and bars are now a rigged game. It's no wonder most men are opting out. That's the smart thing to do. As much as we complain about abandoning third spaces and letting them collapse, if all they're doing is exploiting us, well, then they deserve to fail. Another factor I've noticed that's contributed to this epidemic of social isolation that's led to people changing the way they have is how scattered people who were once close have become. More than ever before, lifelong friends and families are scattering across the country and across the world to try and seek out more affordable living situations, to try and find work. And unfortunately, this economic reality has led to the breakdown of support networks. If your family still has family gatherings and family reunions, you should actually count yourself lucky. I'm actually jealous because my family stopped having gatherings in 2019. That was the last year. Even close family that lives just an hour away is too busy and overworked now when they weren't just 6 years ago. And our aging elders, our matriarchs and patriarchs, the people that used to hold our families together to keep us gathering, they're starting to die off. And there's nobody left to take their place. And this has led to people being much more isolated than they were just a few years ago, even if we're all still able to stay connected via social media. And as a result, people are lonelier than ever. Yes, people have changed, but let's look at this from the bigger picture. This change didn't start in 2020. It started gradually, about 3 years before that. And then in 2020, that change spiked and accelerated exponentially. Everyone else who's made videos talking about this topic always puts the blame on 2020. And I understand why. But the truth is, 2016 was the last free year, because that election in the United States changed everything. It was after that that the ideological split began to accelerate. It was after that that men and women started becoming more and more and more different, and the dating market started becoming completely imbalanced. It was after that that free speech started to have its downfall, that corporations and the mainstream media started trying to point fingers at online communities for radicalizing people and the election of fascists. And corporations started clamping down on opinions that were no longer acceptable. Since 2017, we've been divided. Trust in our fellow human being has been replaced with fear and paranoia. And a shared culture that we could bond over was replaced by individualized, targeted content that was only recognizable among a niche group or internet community. Before 2017 and the rise of TikTok, social media went from helping you stay connected with your friends to suppressing the posts of those you follow in favor of algorithmic suggestions or advertisements. Friends have been replaced by followers. No one can handle disagreements anymore. You could risk a life-ruining hit to your reputation because someone who didn't like your opinion labeled you a racist or a fascist or some kind of creep. But look, I'm not trying to make you feel hopeless here. I just want people to know that if you've noticed the way people have changed like I have, that you're not crazy for feeling this way, and you're not alone. So subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one. And if you're interested in hearing more about 2016 and why it was the turning point of global culture and the internet, and what specifically sparked off the decline of the following years, then watch this video right here. Thanks for watching.
Boys.
Hello!
Oui.
Hello!
Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie Murdoch. Picking up a delivery, eh?
Je te rappelle, bonhomme. Boys. Yes. Yes.
It's hot one, eh?
Do that again.
Some breaking news on this Wednesday afternoon as we have been waiting on word of this week's SmackDown rating. It has come in, it has been confirmed, and it is not good news for World Wrestling Entertainment. This week's SmackDown consisted of a massive title change as Drew McIntyre took the title from Cody Rhodes' 3 Stages of Hell match. Unfortunately for WWE, this week's SmackDown pulled a 990K rating. 990,000 in viewership with a .26 demo. To put that in perspective, that is down from last week's 1.17 rating and a .28 demo. These numbers are tragically bad, by the way. A 1.17 last week is tragically bad. So to go any lower, for any reason or any excuse that one can think of, it's a complete collapse of WWE programming. From what we're seeing on the red brand over on Netflix and the blue brand over on the USA Network. Because they debuted on the USA Network a year ago at a 1.7 rating and a .55 demo. That means they have lost over 700,000 viewers in 1 year. That means that they have lost more than a third of their audience in just 1 year. That is tragically bad. And there's no excuse that anybody can come up with because this isn't just one off week. If you look at the past several months, they've only hit 1.2 a couple of times. And 1.2 is really, really, really bad. 1.1 some odd has become their new average. And unfortunately, this is the third time they have fell under 1 million in viewership. The third time in just the last couple months. Now, this was a big show. It was over in Scotland. It was on a tape delay of just a few hours. So what WWE was hoping for was they were going to keep the viewership. For those that did not know any spoilers, 3 Stages of Hell with the title on the line was enough to get that viewership. And they even made the third hour commercial free to make sure they maintain that viewership. And for those that did have the spoilers just hours in advance, they still had to tune in because it's 3 Stages of Hell and the title is changing hands to somebody who everybody respects, or most fans anyway, Drew McIntyre. So even if you had the spoilers, you were going to check it out. That's what WWE was hoping for. Maybe level off at a 1.2, which is their highest number in the past several months. Maybe they can get that as we head into the Royal Rumble. But that's not what happened. Instead, 2 weeks away from the Royal Rumble, they can't even pull 1 million in viewership for Friday Night SmackDown. With Drew McIntyre, whether fans knew a few hours beforehand or they had no idea, the interest was not there to see Drew McIntyre hoist up a championship. And again, there is zero excuse that anybody can give now, right? Because this is now becoming a trend. Their new average is 1.1, which is tragically bad. They have now fell under 1 million 3 times in the last couple of months, but there still is those WWE exclusionists. They're known as fanboys, but we call them bubble boys, where they'll come up with a reason and an excuse for everything. No concern over here, guys. Don't worry. The whole forest is burning down. And it's collecting more in the process, right? Houses are going up in a blaze. Businesses. The fire is spreading, but there's nothing to see over here, folks. Everything's good. Everything is awesome. The fire, it'll eventually be put out. It's Halloween week. The number's going to be a little bit lower. It's Christmas week. The number's going to be a little bit lower. Listen, college football, man. College football is huge. I know Drew is winning the championship, the world title, but in 3 Stages of Hell, mind you. But you know what? It's college football, man. I'll go back and watch the highlights of Drew getting the championship. And that's how easy pro wrestling is to watch these days, if you want to. You could just catch highlights. It's not even worth watching the show anymore. And then, if you look at the viewership in terms of average view duration, right? Audience retention span. The highlights are down over 40%. That means people are clicking on highlights and not even watching them through. They can't even sit there for 2 minutes to watch highlights anymore. They don't care. So across the board, these numbers are tragic. There's no more excuses. If you come across individuals that are trying to give you an excuse as to why numbers are so low, guys, don't even engage. Let it be, because you can't fix stupid. This is a new trend. This is the third time in just a couple months they have fallen under 1 million. This isn't just once in a blue moon that this happened, which would have been bad enough, by the way, when you debut at a 1.7, which is also really bad, but that's because in the couple of years they were on Fox, they fell to a 2.1 average. Fox knew how bad that was. Fox was like, no thank you. We don't even want to renegotiate. We do not want SmackDown on Fox. We are all set. You're free to negotiate with whoever else you want. That's what happened. They didn't even want to negotiate with Nick Khan. They wanted nothing to do with the doofus son-in-law's product. The exact statement that the Fox president gave was, we never saw a return on our investment. They paid WWE all this money, and they watched the number drizzle down to nothing more than toilet paper or your morning shit in the toilet. And now, unfortunately, USA took a chance. They knew they didn't want to pay WWE that Raw money because Raw had sank so low. But they didn't want to necessarily end the relationship with WWE, so they took a massive gamble on SmackDown. Because they saw out of the two shows that was pulling in a better rating than Raw. At the time, anyway. So they purchased it. And in just 1 year, they've watched a 1.7 drizzle down to 990K. And I wish I could tell you this is just once in a blue moon. This is becoming the new normal. The average was a 1.1. They've already dipped at 1.0 a couple of times and 3 times under 1 million. This only goes one way, because the product clearly isn't changing for the better. They just added a third hour to bore people even longer, and even more so. So the number is going to continue to fall. At best, they can hope to get back to their average, a 1.1. If they get lucky and some extra viewers tune in, a 1.2. It's WrestleMania season. Maybe they can hold 1.2, maybe even a 1.3 for a couple of weeks. What happens after WrestleMania? I dread to think. But that's what they're going to bank on, bring back some legends. Maybe Jericho will be there by then. Will he just be exclusive to Raw? Who knows? They're bringing up call-ups. All the old-timers and the part-timers. Maybe that'll pop a rating as we head into Mania. This, we can't even say this was like a week-long spoiler either, right? Everybody knew the results. Everybody saw clips online. Nobody. This was a few hours beforehand. And we're hoping for a Mick Foley situation when he won the WWF Championship. And Eric Bischoff over in WCW had Tony Schiavone live on air of Nitro say, over there on Raw, they're having Mick Foley win their WWF Championship. That'll put a lot of asses in seats. They were making fun of Foley winning the title because it was already taped, so they just gave the spoiler away. And they saw at that very moment a massive amount of fans clicked over to Monday Night Raw because they had to see it happen. They were hoping that was going to happen with Drew. Drew's very much respected by most fans. They want to see good things for Drew, and Drew get a push. So no matter what, if you saw the spoiler, if you didn't, they were absolutely hoping for better than a 990K 2 weeks away from Rumble, 3 stages of hell, a commercial-free third hour, Drew's taking the championship. 990 is where we are at with a show that's been around for a couple of decades now. Bare minimum, correct? Maybe 25 years. When did it debut? 99? Around 2000? We've made uploads about it. I gave you the exact year. somewhere around 2000, so it's been around about 25 years. And this show is falling under 1 million. There's no excuse anybody can give. You can give any excuse in the world. There was a playoff game for the NFL. There was a college football game. There was this, that, and the other thing. It's your job to make sure you're pulling in at least 1 million viewers, bro. You're pro wrestling. You're WWE. You've been around for decades. This show has been around for decades. And a 990 is what you're pulling. Championship title change. You blew your load on a random SmackDown when you had Saturday night's main event right around the corner. You had the Rumble in a couple of weeks. You got Mania coming. You have all these big events on a random SmackDown because you tried to pop that rating. You say, well, BC, that's a good thing, right? You always say put your best foot forward and at least compete. You're going to get beat by NFL or college football or the holiday will dent the rating. But at least you're giving it your all. No question. But what do I always tell you guys? All Helmsley depends on is brawls, cheap pops, title changes, repeat. Brawl, cheap pop, title change, repeat. There's no storylines. None. Raw finally got one, probably by accident. Adam Pearce, Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman. That's actually pretty damn decent. They stumbled upon that. SmackDown doesn't have any real storylines. None. They hope that a brawl, a cheap pop or two, or three, right, call-ups, or returning legends or something, get the cheap pop, do a couple of brawls, title change every single show. There's been a title change every show for like the past several months, bare minimum. So brawl, cheap pop, title change, repeat. That's not a complete show. That's not a show that you can even get into, man. How many brawls do we need to see before the brawl is not even special anymore? You see everyone brawl and you're just like, all right, here we go. This is 4 minutes of chaos, and it's not the fun type of chaos. Hey, here comes a returning wrestler, or you got a call up. Cool. They can't even book the wrestlers they have now correctly. Let's bring in more individuals. Let's see what Oba's gonna do. Let's see what Trick's gonna do. Let's see what Javon's gonna do. Jordan Grace. Hold on. They're not booking anybody correctly as it is. What gives you any hope that Numbnuts, Schnoz McGee, the doofus son-in-law, is going to book any of them correctly? Look, they already debuted all together within 1 week. What are they doing? Nothing. Javon Evans is getting bouncy with one of the frappuccinos, the cappuccino, somebody from the Starbucks menu, one of the grandes. Trick Williams starts a thing with Sami Zayn. Has some words with Sammy. The next week, he's getting RKO'd by Randy Orton. Or he's rolling up Ray Phoenix, a guy who's barely 5'10" and $180. But Trick Williams' whole gig is, I'm 6'5" and 250. So why are you rolling up a dude that's 5'10", 180 and having to hold the tights, by the way? That's how you're introducing Trick Williams? An RKO by Randy Orton, and then he's holding the tights of Ray Phoenix. And you expect this guy to what? Win a world championship within the next year? Are we going to watch Javon Evans get bouncy for the next year or two? Before they finally stuff him at catering? You know I'm the only one being this honest with you. We want to get all warm and fuzzy inside, right? Oh, Javon debuted. I like Javon. Me too. Oh, Trick Williams debuted. I like Trick. Me too. Oba's coming up, man. These vignettes are pretty stupid, but, man, wouldn't it be cool if they book him correctly? Hey, I like Oba too. Good luck with that. Jordan Grace. I like Jordan. I know you like Jordan, right, BC? Yeah, I do. What do you think? She's already off to a bad start. She debuts last week, walking around backstage, letting everybody know she could come to SmackDown. Wow, what an impressive debut. Then this week, she wins a match that nobody's going to remember. I already forgot who it was and how she won. Doesn't even matter. She goes to go to the back. Jade Cargill comes out, circles her like a shark, says some words, and Jordan doesn't say a damn word back. Wow, what an impactful debut. You guys know I'm right. All of these debuts in just 1 week. Which one of them made an impact? Who? They all seem already average to me. They already seem like they're no better than a Dragon Ball Z Lee. Or a member of Pretty Deadly, or a Tozawa, or an Otis. John Gargano. Elias. Is he still in WWE? Is he even walking anymore? Is anybody walking with? No, he's in TNA. What am I talking about? I don't even know. I don't even care. Sami Zayn is off the show for a month. He's there. I forgot he was gone. I don't care about Sami Zayn. There's talk that he's going to be the next world champion, the one to dethrone Drew McIntyre. Wow! How riveting is that, said nobody ever. The roster has talent. The way they're used, everybody seems so damn meaningless. Everybody is so damn stale. They lack a pulse and energy. And before I can even place the blame on them, I gotta place it on the doofus son-in-law, because the way they're being booked is absolutely criminal. So if his answer is more call-ups, or bring back older dudes, bring back Chris Jericho to take a spot, yeah, that's going to be his moment, right? That's going to be a moment. It's going to pop a rating. You saw what they did. They teased it for the Stranger Things crossover Raw to try to pop a rating, knowing they didn't have Jericho, by the way, but they really wanted to start the year popping a rating. Netflix gave them Stranger Things. They teased Chris Jericho, and it popped a 3.2. Enough to barely get them in the 10th spot on the global list. You think they're going to keep that 3.2 next week? Ain't going to happen. When the new number comes out, it ain't going to be 3.2. I'm telling you that right now because they lied to their audience to get that 3.2. The product damn sure isn't good enough for a 3.2. 5 spots will be off that top 10 because Stranger Things will probably be off, maybe 1 or 2 seasons. So that'll clear up some room. That's the only chance they have of being on that global top 10. Because the number will be down back into the 2s. You guys know I'm right. I'm the only one being this honest with you because nobody wants to talk about these numbers or that it's a really, really bad thing. And it tells you so much about where WWE and pro wrestling is today. But no, they don't want to talk about it. They want to talk about how AEW is doing really bad or how TNA has to deliver a really strong number on their debut or this company or the local bingo hall. The focus is everywhere but where it should be. We need to hold WWE accountable first before you worry about AEW numbers or TNA numbers or the local bingo hall. Why are you not holding WWE accountable? This is the company that's been around for decades. The truth is, AEW, TNA, the local bingo hall, nobody's going to pull in crazy good numbers until the juggernaut at the top starts acting and being like the juggernaut at the top. The pro wrestling world needs that spark. Unfortunately, it pains me to say this, but it's the truth. WWE has to light the spark. AEW or TNA could be putting on the best shows on the planet right now. But if not enough people are giving it a chance or looking over there, what are you expecting? that's what I mean. The community has to hold WWE accountable right now. Once we put the foot up their ass and they are forced to do better, everybody else will do better. High tides will raise all ships. But there's too many individuals, whether it's journalists, podcasters, content creators, everybody is all over the place. Oh my God, AEW, they gotta do better. They've only been around a few years, man. Relax. Vince McMahon was around for a decade, and we still got that weird mid-90s WWF. I still remember the Body Donnas and the Goon, TL Hopper the Plumber. I still remember all of that. Sadly, I would take all of that from way more than what we get today. in a heartbeat. I would take that over anything we get today from WWE. But my point is, Vince was around for a decade, and he still had that lull period of a few years. Tony Khan's what, 6 or 7 years old? Let him go through the growing pains. But the focus is over there. Or what TNA is going to be able to do this Thursday. Nobody wants to talk WWE numbers, or they just want to give them passes. How about the fact that a show that's been around for decades from a company that's been around decades even longer can no longer pull 1 million consistently? That's a massive issue, man. Again, this isn't just once because there was a holiday or there was a football game on or it was your grandmother's 95th birthday. Congratulations. No, this is becoming a trend. It's becoming a theme. Far too often, we're now talking about shows that are falling under 1 million in viewership. That's not just once in a blue moon anymore. It is a trend. So there is no more excuses. And if people try to feed you excuses, don't even engage in conversation because you cannot fix stupid. Trust me, we've been trying to fix Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the doofus son-in-law, for 3 years now. You can't fix stupid. You got it or you don't. You hope that anybody in charge of a company like this has got it. But unfortunately, you can't teach that. So no matter what Vince tried to teach the doofus son-in-law, this is what we've got in the last 3 years. 2025, the worst WWE we've ever seen, and that includes the mid-90s. And 2026 looks to be even worse. So yeah, BC gets amped up when I see a number like this because it's unacceptable. And you should get amped up because it should be unacceptable to you. Because this is a direct correlation. When you put out such a bad product for so long, these are the numbers you're going to produce. This isn't by accident. Nobody should truly be shocked by this. This has been in the making. I've been saying this for years now, that this was going to happen. If they don't change, if they don't get better, what you're going to see is WWE start to fall, and it could possibly fall under 1 million in viewership by the end of 2026. It didn't take long, did it? Before they even ended 2025, they were under 1 million in viewership. This doesn't happen when you create a product that is so damn interesting and captivating that people want to see it. They want to tune in. 990K for SmackDown, down from 1.17 last week and down from a 1.7 debut just 1 year ago. They have lost over 700,000 viewers in just 1 year. They have lost more than a third of their audience in just 1 year. But I know there's excuses, right? College football, BC. College football, man. Hey, BC, one of those was Halloween week. Remember, people don't watch TV on Halloween. BC, it was, Grandma's 95th birthday. A lot of people can kind of feel that aura that it's some grandma's birthday and they just kind of took the night off, BC. National Ice Cream Day, BC. It's National Ice Cream Day. Have a heart, BC, will ya? Let people eat ice cream at 9 p.m. at night on a Friday night. Nobody wants to ask, how did the number get so low that anything can hit them under 1 million? Why was the number at a 1.1 already? Why was SmackDown sitting at an average of 1.1? Nobody wants to ask. Nobody cares. But AEW! Look at AEW. They gotta get better. Yes, because WWE is fine and dandy, folks. It's all hunky-dory over in the E. Until next time. And there will be that next time. BC saying check you. Unit. Salute.
Well, what can I say? We all knew that this will happen. GTA
Alex,
6
I have a favor
is
to ask.
not only
I think I found
gonna
the
be
best police
absolutely
driver,
woke,
but I need to know
but
if she's as good as
it's
she
also
looks.
gonna be
Can you
slop,
visit the
obviously.
location, mark on the
And
map,
on
and
top
pick up
of
the
being
illegal
a woke
goods?
slop,
If
it's
my
gonna be
protege, Clara,
$100
busted,
a woke slop, probably.
intel on a
And if
street
that
race
doesn't
tonight.
come through,
5
by the
tens.
way, you
I
know
need you to
something
make an
else
impression
is.
on a V2 to
Probably
sponsor your first
Nintendo
date.
with
Hold
their
up.
next
Detroit's my old
Pokemon game
hood.
that's
Someone's
gonna
gonna
rival
recognize me.
Palworld
In
in
5 years,
some way,
Alex,
but
your
it's
brother's whole
obviously
crew was
not
driven
gonna
out when
do
Shiv
that.
took the V8.
Have you ever felt
No
like
one
you're
knows
just
you.
living in a
And if
separate
anyone
reality
checks you
from
out
the
in the
rest of the
police
world?
database,
What
all
if
they
I
find is
told
the
you?
fake record I
Yes,
put
but
there.
I
better
am
be right.
also diagnosed with extreme schizophrenia. I should not be even on it. That's a joke,
Finish
YouTube.
first, or
Relax.
this whole operation
Relax.
is over.
Or is it? Relax. I like money.
That everything you've ever assumed about the games industry and video game executives was absolutely true. Eerily so. That these guys call you sheep behind your back.
Wait. Boys, at this point, we all know that we are better.
You got this.
Then
Stay in
I'll-
first.
Because we at no moment actually assume that the people in the video game industry are our allies or
afford the
friends.
attention of getting arrested.
We always knew that they are against us. We always knew that they hate us. This is not news for most of us. This is not news for 99% of us, in fact. All of us know that these developers hate us. They absolutely hate our guts. They wish bad things happen to us. They want to get rid of us. They're not even hiding it most of the time. This is nothing new. We know. We have been living in this world for a long time now.
Axes. They say they don't need to QA their games because you're going to do it for them. And that their focus is to make the most predatory systems possible and try to manipulate you out of your money. Recently, the $100 video games discussion has come back, and with it, this time they're saying that the market demands it. It has to happen, and they need more aggressive monetization to...
You know what's funny about this? It's when they say the market is actually the consumer. The market is literally built only from the consumers.
This is the final
The
stretch.
market does not even take into account distributors or anything like that. The market is literally just the consumers. So when they're saying the market demands it, this is obviously a lie. Now granted, not the first, not the last, not the second, not even the 100th time that these people will straight up lie to our face and pretend that they're smarter than us. So, I mean, just another day in the life.
What they believe is going to be zero pushback. They say that you're just going to buy it anyway. Recently, a former Call of Duty...
By the way, I love this so much. Because these people are insane. Absolutely lost their
Alex,
minds.
I have a favor to ask.
Ruthless.
I think I
Okay?
found the
And
best police
the fact
driver,
is,
but I need
we
to know if she's
already
as good
have
as she
seen
looks.
that the
Can you visit the location
$70
marked on the
price
map
tag, the
and pick up the
$60
illegal
price
goods?
tag, and the
If my
$50
protege,
price tag
Clara,
has effectively
busted you,
collapsed.
then she can bust anyone.
Should
No
I take
one
that as a
extreme
compliment?
super
Take it as you want.
extreme super
What do you
fanboys
say?
is buying
Never say
games
no
at
to
that
getting
price.
stoked up on
Because
adrenaline.
now we have alternatives that are maximum $40. Claire Obscure, Arc Raiders, Silksong was $20, Mega Bonk was $10. There are so many examples. The $50 price tag is pretty much dead, and now most people, thankfully, by the way, pat ourselves on the back, boys. We did it. We non-stop talked about the prices being too high, predatory, and not good for us. And, well, why the hell would we have to care about some fucking multi-million-dollar company that says, oh no, we can't make our multi-hundred millions, the price needs to be high. Why would we care about that? I don't give a shit about developers. I don't give a shit about these companies. I don't care. I don't care in the slightest, and so should you not care. Okay? I find it hilarious that these people are adamant about the idea that the $100 price tag is gonna work out and be okay. When we reject literally $50 pretty much already because it's just not value. There's no value in that.
An Activision executive has come forward to talk about how he believes he is going to fix the problems in the games industry by advocating for $100 games and microtransactions in indie games.
Nice!
This is the worst interview that I've ever read. These profit-addicted parasites will ruin everything they possibly can. while completely ignoring the fact that video game prices on average are crashing through the floor. Consoles aren't selling. We're entering into a job market where there are fewer jobs than there are people that are applying to those jobs. We have younger generations that have all but just stopped buying games.
That's actually not true. No one wants the shitty jobs that underpay.
Meanwhile, these people are out there, the media.
Which is, by the way, normal and good. Okay? If a job is mandatory and necessary, but you're gonna only be willing to give minimal pay for it, that's probably on you. 100% on you, in fact.
For the most part, are going out and criticizing these kids for not having any money when it's their fault they don't have any. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you guys to the world of video game executives and how they ruin everything. I'm sorry. Today's video is sponsored by Raycon. Now that
A sorry before an ad, actually an ironically based.
when I say it feels like I'm living in an alternate reality, I mean it. I look around right now and honestly, I don't know who these people think they're talking to. Executives,
What is this AI-generated slop?
politicians, the media, all acting like they can tell you the sky is red and you won't notice, as if people can't fact check their bullshit in 10 seconds. For the past 2 years, we've watched as journalists and executives who cheered on the idea of $100 games. Journalists because it's going to generate clicks, outrage, and easy discourse for them, and executives because they've convinced themselves that it's necessary for survival. A lesson you would think that they would have learned by now, considering that Xbox floated an $80 Outer Worlds 2 and nobody showed up, somehow managing to have less players.
No one showed up, and it also lowered its price by $10. By the way, when they lowered the price by $10, they were like, look at us. We're so kind, so generous. Please sing our praises of glory. And, I mean, this graph speaks for itself. This is a disaster. This had noticeably less sales than the first game.
Than Avowed, Nintendo had their own version of that, padding the adoption numbers with an $80 Mario Kart World by bundling it with hardware and calling it demand. Outside of indie, this industry is visibly trying to warp itself into something unrecognizable, a system obsessed with draining players, developers, and games themselves until there's just nothing left to take. I think that truth has always been there, but it used to be spoken quietly. Now, the mask is gone, and these guys are just saying it out loud. Last month, a former Call of Duty director gave an interview to Esport Bets in an article titled Former Call of Duty creative director Greg Riesdorf on how the series must evolve, what he's doing to fix some of the...
I think if you have worked on Call of Duty, you by default have deserved no rights in the world. You should be blacklisted from the industry and not treated as a human being. In Minecraft, obviously.
Biggest issues in gaming and why he dreams of a Grand Theft Auto in space. Man, a former Activision executive talking to a betting site about fixing video games. I mean, how could this go wrong? Buckle up, guys. You're in for a wild ride. In the article, Greg talks at length about his new business, Oncade, a monetization platform specifically built for AA and indie games. It offers tools for payouts, creator revenue share, in-game marketplaces, virtual currencies, and monetized user-generated content. These systems, he claims, were once things that they wanted to pursue inside of Activision, but ultimately didn't because at some point...
Built by industry veterans, what kind of slop are we dealing here with? Stavros Lee, over 20 years in tech and video games, former director of engineering at OUA and Razer. Wow, Razer, shipping software at scale to billions of users. What a hero! He worked with Razer, boys. Over 20 years of years in video games, creative director of Call of Duty, multiplayer for 13 plus years. That is sad. That is sad. Over 10 billion in revenue. Yes, because when we're talking about games, obviously the revenue is the big number you want to talk about. Production and development relations leader, advisor, inventor, and nothing.
Ultimately didn't because at some point, Call of Duty was making so much money they just didn't care anymore. Even in the context of creator codes, that quote is so good. It doesn't just explain why those systems never materialized inside of Call of Duty, it explains the entire Call of Duty mindset. You could easily apply this to the phoned-in entries, the increasing prices, and the complete removal of value from that series. He then goes on to talk about offering indie devs similar monetization opportunities, comparing it to Call of Duty's live service structure that he refers to as the content treadmill, a system that once you start, you can never stop feeding it. This isn't about creative ambition or players or games anymore. It's just about continuing to make sure that machine keeps moving and the slot farm keeps going. Content isn't something that you make because it's meaningful or finished. It's just something that you just continue to shove into a pipe because, well, stopping isn't an option because you're going to make less money. The exact kind of influence that we want inside of indie games. After that, he splits the audience literally into the haves and have-nots. Riesdorf explains how people who don't have the money but do have the time can still be made useful, not by playing the game, but by feeding the system, converting surplus time into labor through user-generated content and creator monetization. Now, what makes this moment incredibly revealing to me is that the developers pushed back against it, but it just went straight over this dude's head. They told him directly, that's cool, but I'd really like to have a game that people played first. Devs not asking for monetization loops, they're just asking for visibility, reach, and an audience that actually wants to play their game, and his response wasn't even about games at all. Instead, he says, so we went closer to the revenue.
It makes sense.
Share side, figuring out how we could work with creators and get them revenue share on game sales and key sales. We're starting to see more and more pickup from publishers who are interested in that. This is so dystopian.
This is probably not even true. Let me tell you a secret about all of these stupid fucking startups. All of them are gonna lie that they have people working with them, people lined up, that shit is growing and things like that. They're just gonna lie because the reality is they're either gonna lie and make it or lie and no one's gonna care and collapse. So lying, the irony of lying becoming mandatory in the modern corporate world is something to be quite fearful.
I get that. This stuff's even real. When developers say we want people to want the game, the only thing this guy can think of is turning players, creators, and communities into distribution nodes, making everybody a part of an ecosystem that's economically useful whether they want to be or not. The brain rot only continues when he was asked what was the one biggest decision or feature you and your team brought to Call of Duty that, looking back, had the greatest impact on the franchise as a whole. He responds loot boxes. You can't make this up. Saying,
I didn't read it. You know I'm too stupid to read. You know I'm too stupid to see something right in front of my eyes. You know that I space out when there's text on the screen. It was so predictable to know it's loot boxes, though.
That for Advanced Warfare, the loot boxes became this pincushion, right? But the entire loot system was a reward system.
I am the Messi of predictions. You know I'm always right, bro. The amount of stuff I have been completely on point and right about is insane. The Fate of Bethesda, Fallout, Borderlands 4, Avowed, The Outer Worlds 2, everything, Starfield. Oh my lord, everything. I'm so good at my job.
And the loot boxes became the monetization.
Also, please like and subscribe. It takes less than a second because keep in mind, your 9 to 5 is so much easier than my job, okay? Reacting takes a special kind of talent. It takes a special kind of talent. Got it. Okay, so I thank you everyone who actually does like and subscribe. It actually does help out the channel on a serious note, and it takes less than a second. Thank you everyone.
System on top of that. The actual reward system of being able to be rewarded with different weapons, different outfits, and all that stuff, it was huge to the franchise. When we were pitching that, the response was, we're selling bacon skins for $2. Why would we get rid of that and try this new reward system out? That ended up being huge for the franchise as a whole. Man, this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say that these guys are terrible for the games industry. They are a plague on the games industry. They don't care about games or players. All they care about is extraction. Loot boxes didn't just go too far. They permanently warped how rewards work in games. They hollowed out progression. They stripped meaning from achievement. They replaced it with a damn slot machine. And this guy's proud of it. So proud of it that he wants to bring it to indie games. And what used to feel earned now became something you buy. And that rot didn't disappear when loot boxes did. It just metastasized. Monetization has almost entirely replaced reward design. So few games feel genuinely rewarding anymore because the feedback loop isn't built around mastery or discovery or satisfaction. It's built around compulsion, timers, drip-fed progress, artificial friction, all tuned to keep the player hovering just short of enough so the easiest solution is for them to pay. It is abusive psychology that's masquerading as design, rewiring how people are interacting with games, not just to keep us engaged, but instead to condition.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. What is this game that he's playing? It seems so strange. So, you're in a mech, and mechs are objectively horrible design, okay? But if you can make stuff like mechs fly, you will never make mechs. You will make just small, drone-esque type of balls with specific hive mind behavior and specific tasks. That's what you're gonna do, because that's so much more efficient than a goddamn mech. Mechs are less efficient than tanks. Mechs are, in fact, stupid compared to tanks, okay? God, I hate mechs. I literally could go probably on a one day long tirade about how much I hate mechs. They're the epitome of bad design. Now, granted, mechs are cool, obviously, and stuff, but design-wise, I hate them. I absolutely despise them. They're the stupidest thing ever. Hey, let's make a mech that can use one gun, but let's not make that gun inbuilt. Let's make that gun a separate entity that we need to then make fingers so the mech can use it. That's so stupid! So stupid. Unbelievable.
Players aren't chasing fun anymore. They're just mashing the reward button like lab animals, except the button is now...
Players would always mashing the reward button like lab animals. We know that this has been in fact true, because it's fun. I have done it, you have done it. Now granted, I am smart enough and you are also smart enough to see when we are doing these things. There are people who literally thought playing Diablo 4 and then ironically having fun currently. We call them retards because they have below 50 IQ and could probably get government benefits for life.
Our credit card and the prize is a banana suit. After that, he just keeps talking, and somehow it just continues to get worse. When asked about how teams balance internal data against community feedback, he confirms every bad assumption that players have ever had. He brags about empowering teams to listen to the community, and then immediately pivots to how QA is a problem because testing everything takes too long, so he'd rather just push it live. And he says when players complain about being used as testers, his response was, the community will say, we're now the QA testers, but either you want the change or not. No accountability, no concern, just ship it and see who breaks, I guess. Then he moves on to matchmaking, where he openly admits that they manipulate skill perception.
Listen, this is Activision, okay? I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually kind of in favor of the Activision soulless evil developers than the player base. Because if you unironically play Call of Duty because you think it's a great game, you have issues. If you're playing World of Warcraft currently and thinking it's a great experience and the story not gay slop, you have issues. Like, this is Activision that we're talking about. Blizzard, Activision, Candy King, or whatever the fuck it's called nowadays. And it's slop. It's bad. Okay? People who unironically are fans of their decisions and whatnot, I mean, I don't really have a lot of pity there because some people can only learn through pain effectively. And the unironic Call of Duty players are that group of people.
Pad lobbies with bots so players don't quit, and smooth over losses so people keep playing. Not for fairness, not for fun, for retention, for control, for keeping, in his own words, the sheep available for the wolves.
Nice.
Then the conversation finally turns towards video game pricing, and this is where things get really good because he's asked, while we're talking about the business models behind gaming today and how smaller teams can monetize their work, where do you stand on the looming idea of a $100 price tag for games in the AAA space? He starts off by predicting the end of free-to-play altogether, arguing that there are simply too many games that are spending hundreds of millions of dollars only to launch and die the next day, something that I actually finally agree.
This is such a stupid take. This guy doesn't even know how finance works. Free-to-play is going nowhere. The biggest, most successful money printing machines in gaming are free-to-play. Candy Crush, Fortnite. Literally all of these things are free. All of the Genshin Impact, free. All of these things are free. Being free is a massive opportunity to get a huge chunk of the market, okay? And the reason why a lot of things fail for free is because everyone's making stuff for free. You know who's doing also worse than free games? Paid games. Yeah. Your AAA slop is doing horribly currently.
Agree with in this article until he says his solution is not restraint or better games, it's just to return to premium price titles with microtransactions. Then he's asked directly, does the release schedule of Call of Duty make it harder to ask players to pay $100 every year or even every other year compared to Grand Theft Auto that at this point takes a decade or more to release? And he responds with, once you do it once and stick a $100 price tag on your game, it's just going to go up across the industry. Other games will follow. I don't think Call of Duty will be the first one to do
I want this so much.
it, but at some point the market demands it. Your investors are going to be asking why you haven't done this and the cost to create these games.
No investor has ever asked this. The last time I remember hearing an investor call and someone asking this was actually fear from the investors that they're gonna push $100 price tag, because even investors who don't even know what gaming is understand that that's a horrible decision.
Are super high. I want to make it painfully obvious that anytime the $100 games discussion comes up, anytime game prices ever come up, notice how we are never a part of the discussion. In the long list of achievements that this guy is so proud of, the things that he's doing, the damage that he's going to do to this games industry, not a single time are we ever brought up anything other than just being consumers. These faceless organisms that are floating about, these useful idiots that'll line up to buy the next thing, that'll swipe the card for the next skin. Or in his case, the thing that they're really excited about right now, which is turning us into people that are making content for them so they can sit back and just rake in all of the profit.
That doesn't even work. Like, all of the things that this guy said is just gunk. This is not corporate talk, this is just delusion. This is effectively the same level of stupidity that Mind's Eye CEO was on. This is what it sounds like. This is what Nintendo thinking that AI-generated Pokemon is the future is saying. Like, all of these answers are just delusional.
The one thing that I will say that I find really funny about all of this is how developers actually pushed back and said, yeah, that's cool, but, you know, we just want people to want to play our game. It goes right over this dude's head, and he then pivots to, oh, well, we'll turn content creators into commission-based salespeople. These suits do not belong in a creative industry.
Also, that's not even true at this point. It doesn't work because the ads that people offer you nowadays are fucking horrible. Okay? There's a reason why you have seen only a few select multi-million subscriber channels nowadays do ads. Because the ads are just horrible nowadays. The ad rates are horrible. So the idea that this CEO is gonna make YouTubers, for example, salesmen, is not happening because he will never actually pay the price that YouTubers want. The price, these people unironically think they can email me and say, how about you do 3 shorts about our game and we're gonna pay you $50. Now, granted, you would think that's not a bad deal, but no, $50 for 3 shorts? Nah. 3 short. How about 0.5 shorts for $100, dude? Okay, these people are gonna. These people unironically think that everyone's gonna do everything for them for free, and that you, for some reason, also will want to give them all of your money. The delusion of these people is just extreme.
They represent a very real rot within the games industry, something that I think is more venomous and damaging than ideological differences that we may see sometimes. I mean, we have a AAA executive talking to betting agencies. That's bad enough by itself. But this is an industry that has almost entirely put the games, the players, the developers, the process behind the money, behind the business, behind the stock prices, behind the investors. And it has done so much damage to video games. It's so revealing to see somebody like them, to hear somebody like him, a former Activision creative director turned monetization strategist that is now bearing his fangs towards AA and indie, all because they see the success that those guys are getting and they want to get a slice of that, and they think the best way for them to get rich is to siphon off of their success, to include all the things that they've done to the rest of the industry to these indie games. And the one thing that these guys don't seem to understand is the reason why these independent games have done so well is because they haven't had to use middlemen like them. They don't have to be involved with them. And players have done everything we possibly can to avoid people like him and the games they influence. $100 games. Set the price and everybody will follow. Man, he makes that sound really easy. These guys love living in a reality that just doesn't exist. People don't have the money. They don't have the jobs. We have younger generations have almost entirely given up on AAA. They are so disillusioned by it all. And I don't know where these guys think the money's.
Everyone has given up on AAA. That's the funny part at this point. That is actually the funny part.
Going to be coming from. I don't think they know where the players are going to be coming from. And if these guys chase it, they're going to fail. And part of me wants them to do it because I would love to watch it happen. Now, what I love is that this guy is wrong, immediately and emphatically wrong. How is he claiming that once a single game sets a $100 price point, that the rest of the industry will follow? My guy, we already watched publishers try to push a far smaller price increase and fail. Outer Worlds 2 floated $80, and they quietly walked that back. Mario Kart World is the only real example of $80 sticking, and even that came bundled with hardware at launch, padded by circumstances more than anything else. Since then, nothing, not a single major release has been above $70. If these companies can't normalize $10, then what is the idea that you're trying to come up with that suddenly they're going to be able to jump to $100? That's pure fantasy. Now, I will say he is right about one thing, and that's that Grand Theft Auto 6 could probably get away with it, but that's not because $100 games are inevitable. It's just because Grand Theft Auto is a genuine anomaly. It's a franchise that, it's the only franchise that exists completely outside of genre loyalty, platform tribalism, and gamer identity. People who don't play games by GTA. People who haven't touched a controller in a decade.
Anyway, that was legendary drops. 10 out of 10. Again, I'm just looking forward to the AAA industry just destroying itself. I want it. Bye.
Car damages are expensive.
And today we're going to be judging just how expensive we think the repair bill is going to be from these fails.
First clip.
This is one hand.
This got to be from Chicago?
Yeah.
I think it's roasted.
New York.
Well.
Somebody imported that from Japan.
That's fine.
Send it.
This is fine.
That's good.
It must have been like driving, must have been like the Dr. Seuss card. Like, you know what I'm talking about? The ones that, come on, like the Dr. Seuss cartoons, like all the stupid cars, like, come on, you guys know what I'm talking about. So this frame brace clearly is deciding to leave the chat. And it just looks like where it mounts completely just rusted out of the frame. So it looks like the bolt's still there. The bolt didn't come loose or break. It just blew out.
It blew out. It blew out. So right there to repair that. Wow. Well, I mean, you could cut it and
you have to weld the frame.
and weld it.
Because it's
and
the
then-
frame that broke.
Yeah, and then after that, you gotta see that other big asshole over there.
Look at the rest of that rust though, and the brace. Look at the brace.
Yeah,
the brace is like
gone.
Swiss cheese, bro. This car is.
Those gas lines are all.
This looks not. Yeah. This
It's pretty
doesn't-
bad.
This looks like a nightmare to work.
That would be like if it's.
You're getting a surcharge if
yeah,
I'm working.
If
on
it's a
it.
JDM like JDM car
And
or
a tetanus
European car, something that's like badass, you're gonna spend.
So man. Yeah.
You're gonna need a donor car.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Straight
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
a donor car to get this
Yeah.
even
Cutting
back
out
on the road.
is not worth it. That's
Definitely
too much,
not worth it.
Too much. Not.
Too much work.
And for those of you who are about to say like, oh well, it wouldn't be that much money. Yeah, if you did it full, but if you're doing it for your own car versus if you do it for a customer, labor costs money.
It's a lot of money.
We gotta eat.
So let's
Next
eat into
clip.
the next. Let's eat into the
Let's
next.
eat
clip.
into that next clip. I like that.
Oh, we got something.
Yeah, we sure do. All right, looks like roadkill. No, it's not.
Oh, what was
What
it?
was that?
Hey, yo, man, come get me.
That is
There are
not
cops everywhere.
roadkill.
They're like a piece of metal.
Yeah. Even if it was roadkill, like there's nobody there.
Are you okay?
Why wouldn't you ride around it? Although they're auto-piloted and it's not clear.
It looks like a metal motorcycle wheel.
Oh my gosh.
You see, that's where the smart car is kind of play. Like, are you really that smart? Dodge like.
There's a reason why these cars aren't calling it autopilot or even self-driving, even though that's kind of what it's doing, is because there's a lot of testing, research and development right now. Like we have things like lane departure assist and things like that, radar guided cruise. But the fact of the matter is not one of these systems is trustworthy enough to drive the car on its own without there being problems that they're not perfect right now, and they're not going to be perfect for a little while. They're getting better.
What about those taxi cars in downtown?
Right,
They're by themselves.
hold on, what do they call it? Waymo?
Yeah, it's a
Waymo,
way.
yeah.
It's a way.
They're using, you'll notice they have the LiDAR sensors, which a lot of cars don't use because they're incredibly expensive, but they are one of the better sensors that are going to detect more, but they cost a load of money. But if it's Waymo and they're utilizing it and they're getting paid for their services, it's ongoing, then it makes sense for them to add these aftermarket sensors on, but not a lot of factory vehicles have the LiDAR sensors because they just cost so much money and they're hard to get. You know, there's of course part shortages and things like that.
So more or less, what kind of damages you think it'll do? Besides, obviously, if it was a regular car, it could be the engine, the trans. On the Tesla, what do you think it'll be?
On a Tesla, most of the bottom of the car is the lithium-ion battery, and even though there's a lot of plastic shielding, it's a little scary because if you puncture a lithium-ion battery and it gets exposed to oxygen, they are prone to thermal runaway, and a lot of people have heard of Teslas catching on fire, and you can't put those fires out, and it happens very quickly. So this type of situation is scary.
Stop, drop, and roll. You're not on fire, Ricky Bobby.
Check out that next clip.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? Why?
What's your choice, new driver, huh? Looking for that 510 ink.
Who's this?
Why? You deserve that hydrolocked engine. Why do I feel like this is gonna be like a Wizard of Oz, like it's up in the air?
That's so cool.
Is it?
It is.
Go through a car wash.
I would do that.
No, that's not real. That's fake.
That is crazy. Oh, they gotta see this video.
That was AI. I don't believe the water like that. That's fake. Am I tripping? Dude, we live in this world. I have trust issues. You can't believe anything anymore.
Let me see.
Good work. Now listen, I own Detroit. No question about that.
No, because it don't even look wet now. That's fake.
That shit would have shut down.
How is it still driving but it got in the AC vents?
Yeah.
And it's on recirculate too. Lies. I don't believe it.
Yeah, I don't believe it either. That's a lot of water. There is let's use a legal eagle right here. My car is on my property. The ticket guy.
Your friend's car is on your friend's property.
Yeah. There was a friend of mine that they used to around, you know? And he broke, you know, you open them up and everybody gets all wet outside in the streets and around, right? And they pass by. Whee! And it's getting wet, but not like where it shot into the vents and there's water all over the floor. It was just outside a little bit.
I don't believe it. I'm
You
not
know?
buying it.
But it wasn't like it.
It's not going
Yeah,
into the vent.
it is not going into that. It's fun though. I mean, the friend.
Not buying it.
Hard
Nice
pass.
try.
Hard pass. Next clip.
Oh god.
Here we go. Here we go.
Oh god.
Typical Lambo guys.
Oh god.
Just lose it. Not too bad.
Hey, bro, you can't park there.
It's a Lambo, Dick. We told you to park in the middle of the road.
You can park there.
This would be a good question to ask Leo how much it would cost. When we did the video Supercar Fails, you guys should check that one out.
I'm Sandro. And I'm Leo. And today we're gonna break down how these rich people f up their supercars.
He'll have more of an idea of how much this would cost, but I want to say like 20, 15.
Yeah, I'm bus ballpark.
Easy 20.
No
easy
problem.
20,
No
right?
problem.
And what are you gonna tell your insurance? Right?
I was just driving and I lost control. It came out of nowhere.
I was just being a piece of you know. I wanted to park in the middle of the road. That's all I wanted to
It
do.
was raining and I lost control.
Yeah. Oopsies.
Oops.
The deductible on this? is
Oh
gonna be
my
like,
god. 20 G's.
Don't do this, guys.
Don't do this. Next clip.
Nice.
What? I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. This.
I mean,
But what did you think was gonna happen?
I know.
What do that? Why did you do this? You just wanted to see if they worked? I used to teach an engine performance class where we're doing like fuel injection, ignition, diagnosis, testing, stuff like that. And I give students scenarios, you know, like what do we do if we are not sure if a fuel injector is injecting fuel? Maybe you ohm test it. Oh, it ohms out. Okay, you do a noise light to make sure it's getting signal. Okay, cool. And then many times I've heard students say like, oh, just pull off the rail and see if it squirts fuel. And this is exactly that thought process. You're not thinking down the road of like, oh, well, what's holding the fuel injectors into the rail? And even more than that, now we've got fuel, even if it didn't spit the fuel injector out, we got fuel spitting everywhere. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, how else can I check to see if a fuel injector is working? You can do an injector balance test. So there is a injector actuating tool. It's a balance tester, and they have different adapters. You plug it into the injector, you will key on, so you build up fuel pressure, and then you will pulse the injector and you'll see how much the pressure dropped, and then you build the pressure back up. You'll do the next one, do the same thing, and you just want to see an even drop across each of the injectors. You don't have to remove the rail, you don't have to remove anything, you just need to install a pressure gauge, and you need an injector balance tool to pulse the injector. A lot safer, you won't blow yourself up.
Honestly, that's some pro.
Oh, I tried.
That was
thank
good.
you.
That was
Thank
good.
you.
That was
Thank you.
actually sexy.
I didn't
That
bore.
was
I didn't
sexy.
bore it. I didn't bore
No,
you.
actually,
no, you're falling asleep.
That was pretty good.
Well,
Wow.
thank you, sir.
Wow. Next clip.
No. No, 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 no,
Seems
no,
like
no,
there's
no,
a
no, no, no,
bunch
no,
of
no, no,
tension
no,
on
no,
it.
no,
I
no,
bet there's
no,
not.
no.
No, my dude. No.
No. No.
Put a jack. Bring
Yeah,
it
you just
down, bro.
put it down, put a jack on it, and then take that off.
Honestly, any type of like this, try to do it on the floor. Always try to do it
At
on the
least
floor.
it'll contain it.
It'll
right?
contain
Yeah.
it. Like for real. Like sometimes when you put a jack stand under it and it's up in the air, that balance could make
It's
rock
scary,
the
yeah.
car.
Like even if you were to use like a
Yeah.
screw jack or something,
Yeah,
for
it'll
sure
rock
it's
the
scary.
car.
I know. I prefer. Like you said, I prefer.
I prefer it on the floor. Whenever you're doing like this, don't get me wrong. Maybe you have a different skill, but obviously you forgot it what you were doing there. But if you ever do it, these type of springs, do it on the floor.
Yeah.
Do it on the floor because that rock could even drop that truck.
Yep.
And this goes for any classic car, or anything with
SLA suspension.
Yeah, definitely. You gotta make sure you do it on the floor. Do not do it in the air.
You don't see this design on a lot of cars anymore. Everybody runs McPherson strut. But you would see it maybe on a bigger, heavier car now, especially with that type of spindle. I bet it's a bigger, like a truck or something.
The old school Malibu.
Old school cars. Yeah.
And you gotta make sure you do these bad boys on the floor. Don't do them in the air. Anytime you see this type of stuff and you're about to get in it, just do it on the floor.
If it hits you in the face, it could kill you, and that's on
catches
some real
you chest.
Yeah.
Rip your little nipple off.
Ah,
you don't wanna.
You need those.
No, Kelly Clarkson!
Listen, if you're doing this and you got an SLA suspension, like you said, don't put it on the floor. Get a Jackson underneath it. You can compress it a little bit, and that bolt's gonna come out 10 times easier too.
Yeah.
Because you don't have all that tension on that. That bolt's carrying the weight of the world right now, man.
Yeah.
So. I bet there's not. That's so funny. Good gosh.
It's you.
They
I bet there's not tension. Like, no, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Next clip. Troubles. Let's see.
What did they find? Ramen or something?
Styrofoam. All that foam.
But isn't that really common? I thought a lot of people do that.
Well, some fools clear it out. What is that?
A tool?
Give me that slice of cake.
Ew, he put his mouth on it. I thought he was just kidding.
I get it. I get it.
Well, I don't like straight up because I don't know. I don't do any of this work. Like I thought that it's not that uncommon for people to do like that.
No, that's common. But the thing is, like they left it. It got all cruddy, moldy. It's probably picking at it.
Oh, I see. So
noise.
you're thinking
So
like maybe they just never sealed it up good enough.
They're trying to
but
clean
the
it
foam
up.
inside's not like.
Well, that's what you use insulation, so it should be in there.
So it's not flapping around or bending or
probably
whatever?
did. Probably something. Well, it looks like the car got hit. I don't know.
Well, no, but like, so if you're doing like a body kit like that, how would you do it?
A body kit like that, it depends. Let's just say I'll do it from other pieces with fiberglass. I've tried the styrofoam, but the thing is to copy that to the other side, it's such a...
Because it looks like they had like a panel on top, right? And then to fill the gap between the actual car's body and the panel, they filled it with foam, right?
Yep.
What's the right way to do that? Like, would you just cut the car's panel out?
Yeah, you cut the panel off
and
itself.
you do the metalwork and flare.
Because I don't think they even like have the car. Like,
but that's like what a body kit is, though, right? It's like fiberglass, and it's not.
Yeah, but it depends how. Let's just say you're gonna go wide body, right?
Yeah.
Right here, right? Let's just say you're gonna go just wider right here,
and
you want the stands to be better. What you'll cut this section off, and then you weld it, and then you clean it, right? And you make sure there's no water that goes in there, right? But let's just say that the body kit's two out. And it looks like that, but they don't want to do nothing to this. They'll foam it up.
Right, and then put the panel, like put the plastic panels or fiberglass panels on top.
And that's it. So maybe it was making noise. It was sounding like
or like it didn't seal, like you said, we're getting inside.
Or they're trying to go back to stock, which I've seen it.
Sandro does not approve.
I do approve. I think it's pretty nasty.
Pretty nasty.
Next clip.
Anyone tells you
the brake line's holding in there.
Leave your calipers just hanging off the line.
Oh yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Show them this video.
Why? Stop doing that.
He's probably gonna switch it all out.
I guess you're probably right.
Yeah, he's probably gonna switch out the whole thing. Oh, well, you wouldn't do that. Can you tell us what's wrong here?
What is wrong with this picture?
Yeah.
Clearly, he's putting just a little bit of tension on those brake lines.
The whole rear end.
The whole rear end on the
with wheels.
And with the wheels too. That's crazy.
And the drive shafts right there. Still, no, it's half of it. Or what is it?
It looks like maybe the whole. I don't know, or that like second. It's like a two-piece shaft or something like that. Maybe it's like that. That's crazy that the brake lines are holding like that, though. That's pretty impressive.
It's holding everything.
It's holding on for dear life. But I mean, clearly, in real life, we don't like putting tension on the brake lines because we don't want to break them. You break the line, you spring a leak. Now I got to put new lines. Now I got to bleed everything, and Pain in the ass.
Only if you're doing it because you just want to show off.
Just for funsies.
For funsies, then I get it. But I mean, for funsies, I actually said that.
Funsies. Actually, this could be like a swing. Like you could sit on it. I would do that.
For funsies.
Next clip.
Just one of those days when you just gotta say what the oil pan, manhole cover.
Oh.
It's stuck in there. Motor mount's cut in half.
That's crazy.
Oil pan's busted. That bolt's sheared off.
Oh man.
That is not coming out.
That's such a bad day. Can you imagine? That's incredibly bad luck. What the hell was the manhole cover doing? Like, it must have been like propped up, or somebody was in there. What the hell? The Ninja Turtles coming out. Ooh. Ah!
So let's break this down. Tranny motor, depending what kind of car it is, I don't know.
I don't know
it
what
is.
the manhole cover like went into too. Where did it wedge itself? Is that toward the back?
This could be a total loss, whatever it is.
Yeah.
8 to
you're
10
right.
G's, but it depends how much it took off from the sides too. Like, I mean, that when you went over it, what else did it hit?
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
It could have hit the front subframe.
And I don't know what kind of car this is, but
Radiator support.
transes aren't very
Yeah.
cheap, you know.
So let's just say, I want to say like 16, but I want to call it a total loss.
That's also not assuming we saw the oil pan. We're assuming that it's just the pan and not like the bottom end of the motor that got damaged too.
No, if I was an insurance agent, I'll pull up. I'll be like, the engine's completely gone, transmission's gone.
Trash
Anything that thing hit, and then you still need an alignment chart so that we
all
can
of
see
the-
what else it moved.
Yeah.
So I want to
Right,
say,
like subframe or
yeah,
whatever.
maybe the insurance would just call this a total loss and not even fucking try to repair
You're
it.
probably right. It looks like an older car too. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is. Probably
Probably get like
earlier
$2.
2000s or something. Yeah.
$2.
Fox, here's a crisp $5 bill. Next clip. Need some Taco Bell, some Chipotle.
The Mexican in me is gonna be like, saco los pelos.
Ew! Why is it so long like that?
Somebody got prolapse.
Cracked. That's crazy. That's a lot of water. That thing hadn't been drained out in a minute.
Poor little compressor.
And that's a tiny compressor too to build up
I
water.
haven't even cleared
You haven't
my
drained
compressor.
your last time. When's the
What
last
it sound
time
like
you
that?
have drained your compressor?
I know, honestly, look at your shop or in your little tank. You haven't even done that. You know what that does? It eats away at the metal inside. And then one day, it blows up.
Just gonna blow up the
crazy.
Yeah.
And the compressor shoots up. And
And
then you're
listen,
up
this
there.
economy, no, you don't have to buy a new compressor. Drain your compressor. Also, drain and flush your water heater once a year.
We're giving advice all around, guys. If you need a good plunger as well, you go to Home Depot, section 8, and it's the one with, I'm playing. It's a solid ass
I thought
plunger.
you were
though.
gonna give a real piece of advice right now. I was like, damn, it's aisle 8, every Home Depot. If you want to see even more expensive fails, click on the screen. We'll see you next time.
In every great sports documentary, the most compelling figure is never the clean hero. It's always the dominant force, the controversial figure, the one who bends the system. Cody Rhodes represents stability. He comes out in a suit and tie. Cody Rhodes did almost everything right. He left, he bet on himself, he came back bigger, badder, and cooler. More importantly, he finished the story the right way. And yet, something feels missing. Cody Rhodes still feels very predictable despite having these moments of heel attitude. We all know that Cody Rhodes' character is designed to resolve conflict, and the audience wants characters who create it. That's the dilemma here. Every promo with Cody Rhodes feels manufactured, every moment is justified, and every beat makes sense. But wrestling isn't built on sense, it's built on tension.
The Rock does this?
No.
Being cool in wrestling isn't always about morality, it's about control. Being a heel means that you control the pace, you control the room, you control the narrative, faces react, heels decide. Roman Reigns doesn't explain himself, Seth Rollins doesn't seek approval, they don't earn your respect, they take space. Cody Rhodes, on the other hand, always asks the crowd,
"What do you want to talk about?"
Where heels demand attention right away. Cody isn't boring because he lacks talent. He's boring because he carries responsibility. He has to represent